In this video, we're going to be using Reef Point soaps, Earl Grey and Ginger, and the Leaf for a dome shave. Stay tuned. Hey there folks, and welcome back for another video. I'm your host CDB. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and this will be a dome shave as mentioned before, and we're going to use a little bit of unobtainium today. This is Reef Point soaps, Earl Grey and Ginger, which to me is one of the best tea type scents ever created, and it's sadly no longer available. This soap is probably 5 years old. I'm going to say it still smells great. And I'll tell you a story about this particular soap as I go. We're going to be using the Leaf today with, these are Gillette Platinum blades. And let's go ahead and get started with the pre-shave. I'm going to wet the dome here, and I'm going to start out with a little bit of ice tube. I've been outside. It's rather warm today, so let's see if we can get some menthol action going. I'm actually going to double up on the pre. So I'm going to use a little ice tube here for the menthol. And then I'm going to wet the old pre-shave cube, which is getting mighty slippery, and use a little bit of that too. Why not? I've been trying to kill this cube, and it's proving difficult to kill because it lasts a long time. All right, let's dry the hands here. Well, no need to dry it. Let's try to sort of work that pre-shave up first. We don't want it just laying there and getting scraped off by the blades. We might as well froth it up a little bit. I hope everyone is doing great today. It's a beautiful day outside today, and this won't air for a while, so it might be into April by the time this airs, but this is around the 21st, 22nd of March when I'm shooting this. And really nice day outside today. Spent some time outside, and that's always super enjoyable for me. And I hope wherever you are, the weather is favorable, or at least to your liking, whatever it is that you like weather-wise. But if you live in this region, don't be wishing for any cold weather. All right, rinsing the pre-shave off my hand here and drying it off. I also, in the soap mix, we added the chill mill. So we're definitely trying to get some cooling going today on the dome. All right, let's get to lathering. Today's brush is the West Coast Shaving two-tone, or as I like to call it, the Dude of Shaving brush. And I think we got some nice lather here, nice sheen on it. Again, this soap's pretty old, and we'll see today if it holds up, meaning if it's still good quality. My guess is it will. I would say pretty much the soaps that were made 4, 5, 6, in some cases 10 years ago, are still good today in terms of quality. I think today they certainly have more butters and, skin food and so on and so forth. But these soaps in their time were good, and I would argue they're probably still good today. And I'm imagining if I do my job today, wielding the razor properly, respecting the blade, that it will be just fine. The soaps are arguably better today, depending on what you look for in a soap. If you look for skin food, I would say yes. But when it comes to, just regular performance, they were good then, they're good now, and this one smells great. This never was a very strong scented soap, but that Earl Grey and Ginger, the ginger I think makes it pop. And for me, ginger is an unappreciated note. You don't really see it a lot in soaps. I'm not sure why, because I think it's pleasant personally. And let's get going with our Leaf today, and hopefully we'll do our job, because I'm certain the Reef Point here will fill its role, even though it's got some age on it. Now, the first tub of Reef Point Earl Grey and Ginger I ever bought, I lathered on the puck, and I did it several times. And back then I used to bloom, I used to put water in the tub on top and let it soak, blooming on the puck, so to speak. And I went back to the soap after, I want to say a month or two. And one day I was actually, you can verify this story with the inspector from the inspector's den. I'll link his channel below. And I was going through my soaps just smelling, and I was saying, man, you gotta check out this Earl Grey and Ginger. It is a fantastic soap. And as I was telling them that, I was opening up the soap and there was no scent in it whatsoever. It was gone completely. No scent to speak of. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here. This soap is not very old. It was only a couple months old at the time. And the scent was completely gone. And so I was very curious as to what happened. So I started digging in the soap, scooping it out. And as it got towards the bottom, I could see there was some sort of black substance, which is, I presume, to be mold, mildew, or something. And so what happened was, somehow, that soap grew some sort of mold or mildew. I'm not exactly sure of the substance. Water got between the soap and the side of the wall, got underneath it. And so on the bottom, it was kind of black looking. And so it was then that I began to question whether adding a lot of waters on top of your tub or water on top of the tub was a good idea. And again, the inspector will vouch for me on the story, because I remember very, very vividly him being on the phone going, my soap has no scent. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I got mold on the bottom. And so what I did was I bought this one right away, and I never lathered on top of this soap. And now 5 years later, still has its scent. It's in perfect condition. And so I am not seeking to tell you never to lather on top of your soaps or anything like that. What I'm saying is, if you do, please make sure that you're airing them out and making sure that any moisture is not getting trapped underneath. Because some people think that soaps, these shaving soaps, cannot mold or mildew, but if you get some sort of organic substance in them, they can. And I've actually researched this, and actually you can go to WSP's website and look at it. There's actually a piece on there, can they mold? And they're like, yeah, if you're introducing organic matter into it, and that could be skin cells, or maybe where you're leaving it out to dry, stuff gets in the soap. And next thing you know, if you're not allowing that to dry perfectly, you could have a problem. Now, I will say it's quite rare for that problem to happen, because for most people, it does not happen. But if you also recall last year, Mark from Friendship Shaving had the same issue. So don't think you can't have an issue. It is critical that if you lather on top of your puck, that you allow it to dry out. Now, the drawback of allowing it to dry out is scents do kind of go faster when they're exposed to air. Scenting oil, and particularly essential oils, evaporate. And so you can lose scents quicker, but you must let them dry. So that might be a sacrifice you have to make. Now, that said, there are plenty of people who say they do that all the time. They've never had a problem with their soap, and I believe them when they say it. But I am telling you, and I have shown you in the past photos like from Mark last year with mold sitting right on top of his soap. So it can happen. It is rare though. So I don't think it's something you should be overly concerned about, but that's why I don't lather on top of the puck. Now, many people enjoy doing that. That's entirely okay. It's your soap. Do what you want. But what I'm always trying to do is just advise you of what can happen. It's probably not likely. It did happen to me more than once when I used to bloom them. And what happens is water sits on top, and you think there's a perfect seal with that soap's to the sides, but often it's not. Water gets underneath, and even when you're drying it out, it can't escape. And so that has happened to me more than once, but once I quit doing it, no problem. So from my perspective, it's pretty much irrefutable that if you simply open your soap, scoop it, put the top back on, it's going to last longer than if you're leaving it exposed to elements. I mean, that goes with anything. If it's sealed off, it's just going to last longer. The scent's going to last longer. The soap will probably last longer. Because keep in mind, when your soap is open and drying, it's being exposed to the air. If you have pets, you're getting pet dander in it, all skin cells, everything. Plus, when you're using your brush. So right now, this brush is picking up skin cells and so on from them here. And if I'm putting it back in my soap, I'm just adding that to my soap. Is it a big deal? No. And is it likely to create a problem? No, but it can. And so that's why I don't do it personally. And as you can see here, this soap here, where I replaced, 5 years old, still has its scent the way it did pretty much when I bought it, because all I've ever done to it is scoop a little out, put that top right back on. So it's lasted very well for me. And it's still, I mean, I would argue this is still good quality soap even today, you know. And I think that's the thing. Artisans of 5-6 years ago were good. They're very good today, arguably better, but they were still good back then. You know, these were not bad soaps back then, and they're certainly not today either. And they certainly lather well, and this smells great. And one thing I always notice is on the dome, you don't get near as much cooling from the menthol. You do get some, but there's just not as many receptors. I'm guessing for that cooling type feeling that you get from menthol, or at least I never get quite as much cooling on the dome. On the face, right now I would be feeling it for sure, but not so much on the dome. Let's get around the ears on this. Sometimes I like to change the head shave up a little bit and get around the ears first, because that's kind of, with the leaf, that's the most difficult area around the ears, because you really have to hold them out of the way and make sure you're not, you know, grabbing one of them. So I'm always very careful around those ears, and you should be as well. But honestly, you got to be careful with any razors. You know, it's not just a leaf. But I'm mindful to try to get my neck here too while I'm grabbing the rest of it. You don't want to have a neck like a werewolf if you got a bald head. You know, if you got a bald head and then a hairy neck, or you know, that's not a good look. So make sure you're hitting that neck as well. I like to remind folks from time to time about that, especially my head shaving brothers. And I know a lot of head shavers watch these videos, and I appreciate you. And for those folks who aren't head shavers, thank you for watching as well. Appreciate you all, of course. And I am getting a little bit of cooling here. It's not a ton, but I'm getting some. It's enough to where I can feel it a little bit. But if it were my face, I would be getting a lot more of that. And by the way, I want to mention, if you didn't see, I'll mention him again, Mark from Friendship Shaving's menthol video from last year. I'll try to find it if I remember. Maybe I'll put it in my tips and tutorials list too, because it's a fantastic video on the benefits of menthol, what menthol does. He did an excellent job with that. And I really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite videos. I think Mark is one of the better teachers out there. He really does research when he gets into, you know, when he's talking about vintage razors or, you know, a particular thing. He really does his homework, and he presents material in a very, in my opinion, a very good way. It's easy to understand and digest, and so I really enjoy watching when he's given a lesson. I think it's really good. So Mark, if you happen to see this, here's to you, sir. And somewhere I have that picture of Mark last year with that mold sitting on his soap. And again, he said, well, I didn't allow it to dry properly, most likely. And so that's always the thing to be very careful about. If you're bluing your soap or loading from the puck in a tub, make sure you air that out. That's the most important thing. Otherwise, what can happen is you can run into problems. Some people never run into any problems at all, and some don't. Just depends on your condition, you know, and what sort of substances you're introducing to the soap, how much, you know. Now I'm just touching up a little. I'll tell you what, this soap is still quite slick. It's holding up quality-wise, I'll tell you that right now. Still a little touching up here. No quality problems here. What I find is these old soaps like this, they're still quite good in terms of the mechanics of the shave. Plenty slick enough, no problems there. Some of the newer soaps are more heavily buttered and fatted, and maybe they'll age you and get a better post-shave and all that. But when it comes to just the mechanics of the shave, these older soaps are still on point as far as I'm concerned. They still do a fantastic job. Just grab a little more here. Just feel around. This is my toughest spot. And this side right here is far worse than this one. Like you'd think it would sort of be even, but it's not. It's where that Mr. Burns, where the hair would be area. I tell you what, I really have to work right there a lot. No matter what razor I'm using, I got to buff and buff and buff. But I think we've got it. And that has been a very enjoyable head shave. Let me rinse. We'll come back, get into the post. Stay tuned. All right, and we are back with the magic made by witches. This is Thayer's Witch Hazel Cucumber, which is good stuff, and I like to give myself a good, healthy spraying on the face and on the dome after a good head shave. And we'll just work that in just a little bit. And that was really an excellent head shave today with a great old school soap. Earl Grey and Ginger by Reef Point. I hope Reef Point makes soaps again someday, or I hope they bring this back at least, because it is truly excellent. The Leaf treated me great, as always. The Gillette Platinum Blades really hit the spot. That was outstanding. The West Coast Shaving Two-Tone Brush, or the Dude of Shaving Brushes, I like to call it, was excellent. Our bowl, the Captain's Choice Copper Bowl, was excellent. And I forgot to bring my aftershave in here, so we won't do aftershave today. But I do have it. It is the Razor Rock Emperor. I'm just trying to use that up. I'll throw it on in just a minute. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me once again. Until next time, I've been your host, CDB, wishing you great shaves and a great day. And as always, it's your shave. Do it your way. God bless.